I'll just open up my chat box. So, good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to this program on NCF, the National Curriculum Framework Foundational Stage, strengthening the foundational stage. And I'm very thankful to the Kochi Metro Sahodaya because I think this is very, very relevant in today's times. It's very important that we all understand the importance of this stage, because many things that we need can wait, but the child cannot. This is a quote that actually Deepa ma'am had given me at one point, but it's so beautiful. The child cannot, because now is the time his development happens. To him, we cannot say tomorrow, his name is today. Yes, dear friends, it is actually for the first time that we understand that the National Education Policy 2020, this is the first policy ever to have included the foundational stage as part of formal schooling. Before this, we were always seeing that our school, formal schooling, started from class 1. We always had a curriculum, we had textbooks by NCRT from class 1. But it is this NEP 2020 where foundational stage has found a place in, and we will now be seeing, and we are seeing a national curriculum framework for the foundational stage. Now, why do you think this NEP 2020 included foundational stage? Well, because friends, do we know that the human brain, the development during the first 10 years is twice as active of an adult, and 85% of the brain, of an adult brain, is developed by the age of 6 to 8 years. So whatever we are at this time, 85% of our brain is developed in the first 8 years. And before, the NEP, we were actually losing out on the first 3 years of the brain development because they were not going to any formal school. There was no formal curriculum ever in our education policies. And I'm sure you'll all agree with me that our brain development depends on genetics mostly. But what makes the other part help in its development is the experiences that we give, the experiences that children have in language, in cognition, in the socio-emotional development. These are things, it's very important that you know that brains are underdeveloped in newborn babies. The fastest development happens in the first 3 years. A baby's brain prepares for speech long before they say a word. And the child's brain connects with words, with different objects. So, very important, the brain has 3 levels. It has 2 sides. Friends, we understand when we talk about foundational stage that children learn are happier when it is activity-based learning. Now, the left side of our brain deals with logics, numbers, sequences, and the right side of the brain deals with feelings, music, activities, rhythm. So that is why we've understood that in the first, by the age of 4, the right side of the brain develops first. So the right side of the brain is that side of the brain that deals with feelings, activities, images, spatial images, music. So it helps in the development. So this right side of the brain, that is why we always say that in the foundational stage, we should have more learning that is happening via activities, so that the right side of the brain, into which also helps in long-term memory. So anything that is learned through activities, is learned in a playway method, actually activates the right side of the brain. And this is the side of the brain that helps in retaining or the memorization for a long time. Whereas the left side of the brain that deals with logic, sequences, numbers, goes into, activates the short-term memory. So anything that is learned, through just rote memorization or just by writing numbers again and again will go into the left side. So it's always a good idea that children of this age group in the foundational stage learn through activities. Now, what is the shift? What do we see? NEP, what are the paradigm shifts in the NEP that guide the NCF? Well, the NEP has visualized a transition to a multidisciplinary and holistic education. So, to develop good human beings, to ensure that they develop in all capacities, intellectual, social, physical, emotional, and where there is no hard separation between arts and science, children have a flexibility to study more subjects. So, the NEP is visualizing an individual who is very holistic in terms of the education that they get. There should be a transition, according to NEP, there should be a transition to critical and analytical thinking. So children should be developed to speak, write, and, have the skills ready for the 21st century. So it is because of this that the NEP talks about a new curricular and pedagogical structure that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. This is a better, image where the foundational stage, what we are going to discuss today, is the first 5 years, where this structure is one where the first 5 years we should have more play, activity-based learning. And I've just mentioned the reason is because we are trying to activate the right side of the brain to ensure all this learning is retained for long term. The next stage, that is the next 3 years, that is class 3, 4, 5, which is the preparatory stage, should be more play, discovery, activity-based. And the next middle stages where children learn through experiential learning, where they experience learning in sciences, mathematics, social science, and to a stage where they move on to the secondary stage, that's class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, where the study is more multidisciplinary with greater flexibility and student choice. So today we are going to understand the foundational stage more, where what we are looking for is physical motor development, cognitive, socio-emotional, cultural, and development of language, the early times. Now, the NCF that the NEP has recommended, we have the basis on which the NCF for the foundational stage is the Panchakos Vikas. So according to the NCF in the foundational stage, a child is a human being with a punch coach of 5 sheets. So the Anandamaya Kosh, Pranarmaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, Vijnanamaya Kosh, and Anandamaya Kosh. So I'll explain that in detail. What is the Anamaya Kosh? So it is Sharirik Vikas of physical development. We need to understand that the outermost layer of physical development, that is the student, need to be nourished by food. So that is why this stage is called Anandamaya. And here we believe that it is very important for children to develop their body. So Sharirik Vikas, Sharirik is the bodily development, physical development, where children develop their senses, their motor skills. And how does that happen? By ensuring children take good food, children have exercises. So that is our first course, or the first part of this 5-fold development, that is the Anamaya Kosh, that is physical development or Sharirik Vikas. Then we move on to the next, that is the Pranamaya Kosh, that is Pranic Vikas, or development of the life energy through our breathing exercises, pranayams. That is why this is Pranayama Kosh. So pranayam that we do to ensure that the entire body all our internal systems work fine so that life flows through and through our bodies. This is the pranic vikas. The next kosh is the manomaya kosh or the mansik vikas, where we say it is important that students or human beings have emotional and mental development. And how can we ensure that children are emotionally and mentally developed as well? Through meditation, through concentration, through everything that gives them peace, inner peace, so that when we say children should have a high emotional quotient, at times we notice that children are very developed physically but are unable to handle their emotions. So the Manomaya Kosh talks about the importance of being emotionally and mentally fit and developed. The next Kosh is the Vijnanamaya Kosh, or the where we talk about the intellectual or the cognitive development in a student, where we ensure that we develop their linguistic skills, creative, numeracy, problem solving, imagination. So the Vijnanmaya Kosh or Bodhik Vikas or cognitive development is also important. And the last Kosh is the Chaitik Vikas or the Anandmaya Kosh, or ensuring inner self, happiness inside, spiritual happiness, spiritual development, where we ensure that children have compassion, love, happiness uh, towards others. So I hope you're all with me that this NCF is based on ensuring the entire vikas or development of the 5 koshas or the 5 sheets or the 5-fold, 5 layers, whatever you may say, where we talk about a physical development, we talk about pranic vikas or life energy flowing in through our bodies, emotional development, intellectual or cognitive development, and also spiritual development. So the entire focus of our NCF, is on all these koshas. Now, the NCF, if you've, I don't know if you've gone through it, but the NCF foundational stage has various curricular goals, competencies, learning outcomes. I'll just share with you. There is a national aim of education. That's a vision that is giving direction to all the curriculum developments and how the system should work. Based on the aims, there are domains. Again, the domains all are based on your Panchakoshas. So I will be sharing them with you. But based on the different aims of education, there are curricular goals that are set to give direction to the curriculum. To meet each curricular goal, there are competencies that are learning achievements that you can observe and assess. And to ensure that the competencies are met, there are learning outcomes which are mentioned in the NCF, where the teachers can track the learning and respond to the needs of the learners. And these are called the learning outcomes. So like I mentioned, there are 5 domains that are mentioned in the NCF. That is the physical development. That includes your Sharirik Vikas out of the Panchakoshas, the Sharirik Vikas and your Pranic Vikas. Then your socio-emotional and ethical development, that includes your Manasik Vikas, the cognitive development that's the Bodhik Vikas, language and literacy development also comes under that. And then the aesthetic and cultural development, that is your Chaitik Vikas. So these 5 domains are further divided into 13 curricular goals. So as teachers of the foundational stage, you have to ensure that your children are meeting these curricular goals. So for example, under the domain physical development, the first curricular goal is that children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe. The second curricular goal would be that children develop sharpness in sensorial perceptions. The third curricular goal is that children develop a fit and flexible body. So like this, there are 13 different curricular goals which we have to ensure are met during the foundational stage. And for every curricular goal, there are competencies. I just told you these are competencies, uh, observable, measurable, that you would be able to see. So for a curricular goal that says children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe, we have a competency 1.1 that says shows a liking for and understanding of nutritious food and does not waste food. 1.2 says practices basic self-care and hygiene. 1.3 says keep school classroom hygienic and organized. So in such a way, if you can see my screen, you would notice that every curricular goal has various competencies, and each competency is then, for each competency, you now also have various learning outcomes. So here I've mentioned for the for the domain physical development, for a curricular goal, the two where children develop sharpness and sensorial perceptions. You can see on my screen how the various learning outcomes are mentioned. That is what you would ensure in the class, whether your students are able to meet these learning outcomes. Like the first learning outcome here is differentiates and names the primary colors, so red, blue, yellow, and other common colors in the environment, black, white, brown. And similarly, moving on according to the ages, whether they're able to differentiate shades within primary colors, secondary colors, and so on. So it is our duty as teachers to ensure that we are planning our classes, or the foundational stage is planned in such a way that we are able to meet the learning outcomes, so that we can meet the competency that is a part of the curricular goal under a particular domain. So just to make things easier, here I'm just showing you some more samples of how the domains, social and emotional development, you have more learning outcomes. So I would urge you all to actually go through the NCF foundational stage manual. All these domains, you have all the curricular goals mentioned, and what goal you need to meet, what are the learning outcomes that are being expected from you, and based on that, you are required to plan your lesson plans or your pedagogies to ensure that uh, curricular goal eventually is met. So I'm sharing samples, like for language and literacy development, when the curricular goal is that children develop fluency in reading and writing in language one. The competency we are looking for is whether the child can read short stories and comprehend their meanings by identifying characters, storyline, or what the author wants to say. And then we would be trying to understand whether the learning outcomes have been met. So the first learning outcome there would be whether the student is able to listen to read alouds and respond to questions posed by the teacher. Whether, the next learning outcome is whether the student participates in shared reading along with the teacher and in the discussions about reading. The third would be whether they are participated in guiding reading along with the teacher, and so on. So I'm sure this is giving you a better example. So for every domain, I've just tried to show you a sample of how the domain, there are curricular goals, competencies that we are trying to meet, and how they should be showcased in the classroom. So I hope you're all with me that we should be, we've understood that the foundational stage is based on the Panchakos Vikas that decides the various domains. And we are trying, what are we trying to do in this is develop the skills among the children for a holistic, horizontal and vertical learning to be happening among children. Now, a very, very important concept that the NEP 2020 or states that before the age of 5, every child will move to a preparatory class. So before NEP, I'm not sure how it was in Kerala, but in Delhi, we had only 2 classes before class 1. But here now in after NEP, a new class that will be added is the Balvatika, which is a 1-year program before grade 1. And what we are looking for in this stage is to prepare children with cognitive and linguistic competencies. So they should be able to read, write through a play-based approach. And NCRT will be developing guidelines for the 3 years of this stage. And the first stage, of course, is NCF. And I'm sure you're aware that the books are also out for this stage by NCRT. Now, what is the form of pedagogy in Balvatika? Well, it's learning through play, free play, guided play, directed play, or supervised play. So what is free play? Where children can do what they like to play, when they want to read a book, whether they want to. And the teacher's role is very indirect. So what the teacher does is just, prepares the environment. But there is a problem in this play method is that you can't teach them everything because it's children-led, it's student-led. So there is another form of play that you could do is a guided play. Like if child wants to play with clay, the teacher would guide them how to use the clay. The teacher, if you want to ensure that you want to bring about literacy skills, the teacher would introduce a vocabulary activity like finding rhyming words from the story. So in guided play, it's child directed, but the scaffolding is by the teacher. And then, of course, you have another play method in Balvatika that is a structured play, which is purely teacher directed with activities which are fun. And the teacher, like for example, can ask the children to create a story, adding a line each to a scenario in a playful manner. So the entire, everybody, the focus of this structured play is that it is teacher led, and teacher ensures that specific competencies and learning outcomes can be met. So they provide an experience through games and activities. So I've tried to give you a table that helps you understand the different forms of play in this method. So I'm sure you'll all agree that it's not always free play that helps. Yes, free play is important because it's children led. They like to do what they. But at times when the teacher led structured play happens, the teachers can plan the activities and games and ensure that the competencies that you are trying to meet are met. So language, mathematics, games, songs are all planned on a daily basis. So our Bal Vatika stage, and again, I'm reminding you why are we again and again talking about having a playway method during this time is I'm reminding you once again that we are trying to activate the right side of the brain, because remember, it's the right side of the brain that gets activated through play, through activities. And it is this learning that is long term. So it will be remembered or kept in our memories for longer. So in the foundational stage, what are we trying to do? Well, our teaching learning practices at this time should be flexible, multifaceted, where we are ensuring different activities at different levels using play, activity-based, discovery-based, ensuring holistic, integrated, enjoyable learning to be happening. What should be the curriculum? Well, in the foundational stage, we teach them alphabets, language, number, counting, color, shape, play, logical thinking, problem solving, all forms of art and craft, drama, puppetry, music, good behavior, ethics, teamwork. We need to understand that students, we have different types of students in our classrooms. So we have children who are visual learners, that is, they understand concepts when they see using pictures. We have auditory learners, who like to listen and learn. We have learners who like to read and write. So they like to read. And the kinesthetic learner would learn through movement, through doing. So we as teachers need to understand that our lessons should be such that we are able to reach out to every different type of learner who is there in our classroom. And the teacher who is the pillar, we really need to understand that you, dear teachers, are the pillar who raise the children. If it's a triangle, I think you're the head, the pillar of the triangle. But it is very important that we as teachers also understand our roles, how we need to change. We are at the heart of this learning process. If I talk about the NCF or at the foundational stage, it is important that we understand how important your role is. You need to understand recognize the capabilities of each student. I always tell the teachers, you need to KYS, know your student. You need to know what your students like to do and do not like. We need to understand that what is expected from us in the foundational stage is that every child should have achieved foundational literacy and numeracy by grade 3. Now, when I talk about what is foundational literacy, they should be able to read and write. When I talk about reading, so if I say or if I write the word if I write CAT on the board or they read it, they should be able to understand. They should not just be able to say but they should be able to get the image of a cat. So when I talk about reading or foundational literacy, they should be able to comprehend, understand what they are reading. And similarly, when I talk about foundational numeracy, it is important that children understand that just being able to count from 1 to 100 is not numeracy, foundational numeracy. Children need to be able to count, need to add. So basics of addition, basics of counting, or whatever is expected is to be ensured by grade 3. This NCF is rooted in Indian culture. We are trying to focus on the interest of students rather than completion of the syllabus. I've spoken about the importance of holistic education, conceptual understanding, creative thinking, and yes, the power of mother tongue. Foundational stage is emphasizing the use of mother tongue in the early years. This is something we all need to understand, that children always in the foundational stage would learn and keep retain this in memory longer if it is in the mother tongue or a language they are comfortable with. So this is very important. Now, I just thought that just as a breaker at this time, if we can all understand, I've spoken in this first half an hour, I've been talking about different domains, how every domain has curricular goals that are to be met. So here I have taken an example from my own school, what we are doing. So when I'm trying to meet the curricular goal of physical development in a child, where the first curricular goal is that children need to develop habits that keep them healthy. So I've taken this first competency, I've just taken an example. When I say that students, the first competency is whether the students show a liking for and understanding of nutritious food and do not waste food. So the learning outcomes here, as mentioned in the NCF, are whether they can name a few healthy food items and a few unhealthy food items, whether they can identify healthy and unhealthy in a shop, whether they can give reasons why something is healthy, whether they can recognize food from different food groups and explain the ill effects, whether they can name some qualities of good nutritious food. So one activity that I really liked and I saw in my school was this foodie cupboard that was done by the teachers. So they had this cupboard where they had a smiley for, of course, healthy food, and a sad face for unhealthy food. And these were all cutouts of, you can see in the basket, where they had all different kinds of food. So the children were asked to come and place the healthy food and unhealthy food. You can do it through cutouts, you can do it through real food items if you can, or objects, if you have toy food, whatever. But children were able to differentiate what is healthy, what is unhealthy. So similarly, I hope I'm able to get across to you that something like this, or any other activity, this is just one example I'm giving you. You can plan any other activity that can be done so that you can kind of meet the learning outcome that we were talking about. I'll give you another example. The next domain I've taken is uh, emotional development. I'm actually unable to, just give me a second.
It is, you have shown physical development, madam.
It's physical development. Actually, ma'am, there's something that has come on my screen, so I'm unable to see.
Physical development, curricular goal 1.
Yeah, now I can see it, ma'am. Okay. So, physical development, where we are talking about where the children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe. So, we try to take the competency, whether they are showing a liking and understanding of nutritious food and do not waste food. So, the learning outcome that is mentioned in NCF is whether they're able to follow picture recipes, whether they can participate in preparing nutritious snacks, whether they are able to prepare nutritious snacks based on recipes. So, very interesting. We was having in Delhi, we have a big Dashera celebration. So this was done last year, where children prepared Ravanas using junk food. They were following a video or the instructions by the teachers, and they prepared all the weapons using healthy food. You can see that what children are doing there. So anything like this can be done where children understand or can get involved in activities to help us meet the learning outcomes. Now, I've taken another curricular goal where we are checking their whether the children develop sharpness in sensorial perceptions. So, whether the children can differentiate between shape, colors, and shades, whether they can group objects based on their color, based on dimensions. So, here is another very nice activity that was done. So you can see that the teacher used the learning wall, and this girl, they were probably celebrating Purple Day. So the children were given a lot of cutouts, stick cutouts, and they were to, in the learning wall, place anything that was purple in color. Similarly, this was something that was integrated with sport, where the children were asked, you can do it in many forms. They were asked to jump on the green circles or jump on the green color, or probably just circle. So it can be used as an activity for colors, for shapes, and of course it's integrated with sports. Another domain, in the same domain we use, I've got an example where children develop a fit and flexible body. So whether they can stand on one foot, they can stand for how long, whether they can hop 4-5 steps, they can hop 10-15 steps, whether they can balance on one leg for a short time, whether they can balance on a variety of surfaces, whether they can balance things on their heads. So these are the learning outcomes that are already mentioned. So all it is your duty to understand that to meet this domain, to ensure this curricular goal is met, we plan out activities based on the different. So here you can see this girl is doing a hopscotch. So the teacher could judge whether the girl could do, how much could the child do with 1 foot. Then here the child is balancing these two balls. You can use it to even pick Here you can see the girls are, or the students are trying to balance themselves on a zigzag motion. So this is through various activities that you plan. Your pedagogy is planned accordingly to ensure that all those learning outcomes and in a way that competency for that curricular goal is met. I've tried to take another one where, children develop emotional intelligence, whether the ability to understand and manage their own emotions. So the learning outcome was whether they can identify their wants and feelings. That is, don't want to go out. Whether they can recognize their simple emotions, fear, joy. Whether they can express their emotions through verbal and non-verbal modes. Whether they can share with others their feelings. So uh, you can see that children, the parents were asked to, prepare these emojis, or the teachers can do it. Every child has a set, and teacher gives them situations. So you can either sing and ask them how they feel hearing that situation, hearing that song, and what is their feeling, whether they are able to understand their own emotions. When are they happy? When are they surprised? When are they sad? When do they frown? When do they cry? So if children are able to understand, recognize their own emotions, so this was again an activity that children really enjoyed. So now the next domain, we are trying to understand the curricular goal 7, where the children make sense of the world around through observation and logical thinking. So the activity was again here, whether they can identify the missing parts of a picture or a familiar object, whether they can identify 3 to 5. So you have to, of course, the learning outcomes are there in front of you, and you have to plan out activities. So what the teachers did was here, parts of a body. The teacher discussed with them, and then, of course, there were parts that went missing. And children were asked to either place the different parts, understand where every part, where the head went, where the legs would go, where the elbows, where the hands, uh, where the lips would go, the eyes, the hair. So any part. So children were coming and placing the parts accordingly. So another way, just how the teacher has tried to meet that learning outcome. Now, for cognitive development, we're trying to see the next curricular goal 8, where the children develop mathematical understanding and abilities to recognize the world through quantities, shapes, and measures. So, whether they can identify and extend simple patterns. So recognizes and repeats the patterns in pairs, recognize the unit of a repeating pattern and extends the pattern to 3 to 4 objects. What learning outcome do you think you are trying to meet? So here again, you can see teacher has used very simple objects that are available. So I'm sure you've all looked at the NCRT's Jadui Pitara, or you can create, your own boxes. Pitara is nothing but a box of all the magical teaching aids that teachers of the foundational stage would need. But here our teachers have used normal day-to-day material just to let children hear. The girl has been able to put a pattern of 1. The boy has been able to put it into 2. The girl in the extreme right has been able to place it in a different pattern. So we are just trying to judge their understanding of patterns and where or what is the learning outcome that these children are able to showcase and what competencies they are able to meet. So these were just some examples. I tried to, get what was available with me in school. But teachers, you can use a variety of pedagogies and activities in the formative years to to ensure that you develop curiosity, logical thinking, problem solving, all of this behavior, emotional development, and of course, all the other curriculum that we were talking about. Because we need to understand that the goal of education in this time is to activate the child's own natural desire to learn. Difficulty is that people do not have an idea of what education really is. That is the biggest problem. I'm sure now NEP has been here for long. NCF has been around for almost a year now, that we understand what is the vision of NCF. We understand that in the foundational stage, we are trying to have activity-based method where there is outplay, there is puzzle solving, drawing, painting, and of course, mother tongue, the most important in these times, is because, like I said, it helps children learn better. And we need to ensure in the foundational years that the children have foundational literacy, foundational numeracy, to ensure reading and writing among the children. Now, it's very important that we as teachers are open to new ideas. Now, the biggest problem is that you should be able to accept, nowadays it's a time to unlearn and relearn. I won't say change your learning or learn new things. It's a time to totally unlearn. Now, the NCF is something that is phenomenal, very dynamic, I must say. We are talking about goals that we are trying to meet. We are talking about competencies in the real sense. So it is important that you as teachers be open to new ideas. Whatever is coming through, you may have been teachers for a long time, but unless we open up, uh, unless we are ready to change, we will not be able to bring about changes that are being expected. It will not happen unless the teachers are, are going to, change. So what is needed? Let's understand. According to the learning pyramid, I've been talking about it. Just by lecture, you can only have retention rates of 5%. By reading out, only 10. By an audio visual, only 20. By demonstration, only 30. Through discussion, 50. Practice by doing, 75. But the most, dear teachers, you'll all see, is when I'm actually involved, is when the learning is most. So you can see that as the child gets involved in the learning, practicing, teaching others, getting involved, the learning is always, always better. So the stage talks about various pedagogies. But before I move on to the pedagogies, I'm just trying to do a recap of what all we have just discussed. This is a recap that we are trying to understand that the NCF in the foundational stage, which is again a phenomenal document, I must say, because it is for the first time in the history of our country that foundational stage, or learning below 3 years, till 3 to 5, has come up under a formal schooling now. And that is because we have understood that the development of the brain is most during these tender years, and we could not lose this learning in early years. So NCF for the foundational stage is very, very important, and it is working on a very traditional Indian concept of Panchakos, where we are talking about holistic development and development of physical body, the sharirik, that is your inner body. We are talking about mental and emotional development. We are talking about cognitive development, and we are also talking about spiritual development. And based on these kinds of development, there are various curricular goals that have been decided by and are a part of the NCF. To meet all those curricular goals, there are various competencies which need to be met. And to meet those competencies, learning outcomes to be ensured are, the outcomes should be visible in the classroom. And for that, dear friends, we need different pedagogies. I've just tried to show you some examples of pedagogy. So here I'm going to just share a few more pedagogies. I don't know if you've attended my session earlier. I have shown it earlier also. But since I had all these slides ready with me, I thought I'll just show it to you how we can ensure different activities to make or ensure the curricular goals or our learning outcomes are met. So when we talk about activity-based learning, for mathematics, we can have children count and sort different colors, different numbers. So you can see how the teacher has asked children to count and place a certain number of items into each bowl based on color, based on number. How we can ask children to use, weaving different numbers according to the ascending or descending order, where we can ask children to find out the missing numbers. So hang the clothes with the missing number. We can also have a story narration that can be done. So you can, like there's a bird there, you can ask the students, where is the egg of the bird? The bird is looking for the eggs, and it is somewhere before 3, between 1 and 3, and then the children can go looking for it. And then, you can ask children through various stories. You can learn maths in the fun way. Why do we always ask children to do worksheets? Now, once again and again, I'm reminding you that when we do worksheets, it is logical work that we are doing. I'm not saying stop it altogether, but that learning is very short term. It's a logical kind of a learning that would go into the left brain. So let the children enjoy it through activities. So when we are asking them to learn capacity, when we are asking them to learn length, weight, when we are talking about weight, why don't we let them hold the different objects to see what is light? We tell them, what do you think is light? And we ask them to circle it on a worksheet. But the learning would be better if we ask them to hold it in their hand, or, you've seen they've used a hanger to make a beam balance. So which one is heavier, the child will be able to see it and actually learn through an activity and experience. Various methodologies can be used to make different words where children play around with these. Reading activity, and I'd really urge you all to try it in your classes, where you read the text and you whisper the text and you ask the next child to write. So they are able to hear. Now, the biggest problem nowadays is children are unable to listen and comprehend. So this activity could be used. Another wonderful way of teaching prepositions, or any other, you can take. So if you see there is a pen that is placed on top of the window. So if you ask children, where is the pen? The children say on top of the window. Where is the pen? Below the desk. Where is this? So you can teach them the same concept of prepositions without actually going into the definitions. Using an activity, they understand the meaning of prepositions and can, retain it longer. Here, the children are using. So at times we do not have sandpaper with us. There could be any issue. You can ask children, and this could be a part of your Jadui Pitara or your magical box, where you have children put flour on a little thali or a plate, and they are playing around with the different alphabets, matras. Here you see they're using clay to make the different matras and understand. So they get a feel for, and in the meantime, they're also building on their fine motor skills, which is very important. So again, placing the matras using clay. So they are all involved. So these were all types of activity. Now, art integration. So the teacher has tried to teach them repeated addition through sticking, so they've created a city with different windows. So they are trying to using art in the form of craft here. Here there is a preposition garden, again, a wonderful, if we ask the parents to actually create a garden like this, and the teacher asked the children, so the teacher said, okay, put the owl behind the tree, put the human figures inside the house, let the bees fly above, let the crow fly above the house, the sun is behind the clouds. So you can see how they did not have to write. They were understanding the meaning of what is behind, in front, below, inside, outside. At this at this very young age, this kind of learning they enjoy it. Similarly, adjectives. So we ask them to kind of write down whatever describing words for any object that they like. So they drew it, they brought it, and they used words like this to describe. A grammar wheel was made by the children. Another very fun activity, you can play a bingo with children. You can ask them to, you can make it with clay, or you can actually perform that. So here the teacher was making clay items for running, sleeping, and then, you can ask the children to prepare many action words in this way. Okay. Here, parts of the plant you can see the teacher planned an actual real. So the broccoli florets to prepare the petals, real seeds to go into the seed of the a real part. So the real spinach leaves to make the leaves, the real carrots to make the root, so that children actually know the real parts of the plant. You can also do the concept of germination with them. Let the children actually plant real seeds and let them grow into saplings or seedlings, whatever you may call them, to see the shoot and the root. Because at this tender age, at this young age, this is what arouses curiosity. And because when we draw it, they don't believe it. But when they do it and they actually have a sprouted seed in their hand and they see the shoot and the root, this would be something that they would keep along. You can see how happy the children look there. They planted their own little seeds. Now, uh, this stage also asked, so activity-based learning was there, art integrated, experiential learning. Some few activities that we used, like a sink and float. Here also, I used to see teachers earlier used to make worksheets, circle the heavy objects, and strike off the light objects. But here the children, if you see, are actually sitting with a bowl of water and with a few objects that they are going to put in the water and see what is heavy, what is light. So when they actually experience that learning, it is going to be more permanent. Here the teacher used lemonade. So so much can be done when the teacher uses lemonade. The children were asked to slice, the parents sliced the lemon. They were asked to squeeze a lemon and taste it for the tangy taste, and add salt. So it's salty. Taste the sugar, it's sugary, and then mix the water. So a lot of vocabulary was happening. Children were learning that you could add, you could create. And of course, I'm once again reminding you the way they made the foodie Ravanas. Even something like this could be used, this activity, for meeting the same curricular goal, or whether children are able to use guided recipes. So here, when we talk about addition, why always ask them to, write it? Here we ask children to use seeds, different seeds, to collect and add objects. They were grouping it for multiplication into an ice tray. So very simple, homemade, using things available at home. Various rhymes. Again, I'm reminding you that when we learn through rhymes, the learning is long term. So when you ask children to write 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, that is logical and that goes into the left brain. And again, it's short term learning. But when children learn through rhymes, so if you have children, you want to teach them maybe 4, and you say down and over, down once more. That's the way to make a 4. So you can see, you can actually have children hold their hands, let them run in that direction and create a 4 in that way. So children learn, enjoy, and of course, when they are enjoying something, the learning is going to be long term. Sorting of clothes can be done, and sorting, you can use this in many different ways. A few of the teachers used Goldilocks, the story of Goldilocks, to for sorting. So, they had all the cups and plates of different, so to tell the children about how you sort. Here, children were asked to get their t-shirt and their father's t-shirt from home, so that they understand the concept of big and small, and they're able to sort it separately into, then summer and winter clothes can also be sorted. Another activity to understand 2D and 3D shapes. So when you have something that is 2D, so if I have a piece of paper like this, if I do this, I can make a noise. But if I have something that's 3D, so if I have a big something like this, I can't clap. I can't clap. So just for them to understand that 3D means something that you're not able to join your hands together. This was done in Hindi, where teachers wanted children to understand the difference between shady and sunny. So what they did is, instead of teaching them the opposite of sunny is shady, the teacher took them out in front of a tree during, at around 12 noon. They stood in the sun and felt how it was. They stood in the shade and felt how it was. So they could actually, the vocabulary understanding was better. Similarly, inside, outside, when you stand inside your classroom, when you stand outside a classroom. And even for, like, they did an activity with handkerchiefs. So they used a handkerchief and to wet, and there was one handkerchief that was dry. So the children could actually see the difference, what is wet, what is dry. They could feel it and tell the difference. So this was all experiential. Now discovering the learning. Now see the smile. This was again a learning outcome that we were trying to meet in your cognitive development, where the children understand that when you add two colors, so they added these, you could also have them do it on their hands. Air, we say air has space, but let them try it out. You can use force. Why don't we tell them to try out these activities? Why do we always try to, tell them, let them try, discover the learning? Now, a lot of toys, games can be used to get to various different concepts. I just showed you an example earlier also of hopscotch to check whether how long the child, you can also use it for forward and backward counting. You can use games like Simon Says, if you're happy and you know it. You can have so many of these other activities that you are seeing. You can use puzzles. You can have a relay race for any of these subjects. You can have a snake and ladder, and it's so much fun when you integrate it into their learning. So for good hygiene, for good habits, so when you say you wash your hand, you probably climb up the ladder, and when you don't wash your hands and eat your food, you can have a snake bite, or maybe a visit to the doctor, whatever. So just for children to enjoy. So this is again the bingo that I was mentioning. We had it done through clay earlier, but you can also have children. You can demonstrate. You can give them the bingo cards and you demonstrate whatever. So if you're saying jumping, you can float, whatever you are doing, you let them recognize your action and then strike it off the bingo sheet. You can have you can use biscuits to play this game. The preposition game, I told you how we can use it in the classroom, how we can use it as an art integrated. And here you are using it as a game where you're actually telling the children to stand behind the chair, on top, below, beside, whatever. Storytelling in different forms to meet different learning outcomes can be done. With puppets, you can do it. Here, these were children of my school where they were teaching good touch and bad touch. So this is to the nursery class, the class one students. So 5-year-olds taught the nursery and KG kids about good touch and bad touch. So various stories can be used, storyboards, role play sessions, outdoor classroom. Circle time is another beautiful pedagogy, which I encourage you all to use in your classes. And then there are various themes that you can use to meet learning outcomes. You can talk about body, fruits, vegetables, clothes, occupations, the work that is done by family members, about hygiene, about food, about using resources, about road safety, kinds of families, about air, how to cook, what are the festivals, which are the different animals, wild animals, domestic animals, anything can be discussed. And of course, a structured kind of a circle time where you are ensuring that you are meeting the learning outcome. Because I'm reminding you again that at this stage, all your activities should be such structured or directed in such a way that the learning outcomes that you intend to meet should be integrated into the activity. Here, another nice way is where we are using our building. So children learn and walk. As they walk on the corridors, they are learning something. So, a lot of changes have been brought about in the last few years. We know the NEP 2020 that tells us the aim of education, which is talking about an activity based. It is based on this that we have the NIPUN Bharat, that is, the development of the domains for proficiency in reading, writing, and numeracy. And it is only for this reason that we have a Vidya Pravesh. All these books are available. You can Google them. They're available on the government sites, on the NCRT, CBSE sites, called Vidya Pravesh. That's the bridge to class 1 that talks about the critical areas and links and in the preparatory stage. You have the NCF for the foundational stage, where we have, once again, I'm reminding you, the curricular goals that we need to meet, that the competencies and the learning outcomes. And then, of course, the trainer handbook for Balvatika, which is Unmukh. I urge you all to go through the handbook. And now, once we have understood that our NCF in the foundational stage is based on Panchakos, we have understood that it has different learning, the curricular goals, competencies, it has different learning outcomes to be met. I've shared with you different pedagogies that we can use at this time to meet. Now comes the time, the final time is the assessment. This I'm this progress card, which is the HPC. We are not talking about a report card, but we are talking about a holistic progress card that has been developed by NCRT and CBSE, of course, CBSE for the foundational stage. And this is how it looks. It's there on the CBSE site. But all that we have discussed, so this is for the foundational stage, where you let the child tell you the things they like. So it is a 360-degree assessment of the child. We let the child assess himself or herself. What are the things the child likes? Who are the friends? We let children decide. We tell them, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite food? What is your favorite game? What is your favorite animal? So this is the time we are already leading them to start making decisions, understanding what they like. Again, I'm reminding you, the curricular goal 1 in physical development is whether children develop develop habits that keep them healthy and safe, where children are able to, the first competency is the children are able to understand what they like. So all of this is part of that assessment. And it's very interesting where in the term 1, the height is being measured in hand spans, because telling a child you are this, centimeters and feet will not, but the minute they understand their hand spans, they enjoy it more. They probably enjoy knowing how tall or short they are. So this is about themselves, a glimpse of the family. So the children can draw the picture of themselves. They can draw their family picture, and you can put the real work of the child here. Now here, you are to assess children on the curriculum goals that I mentioned. All the curricular goals, all the competencies, you have to actually assess the child and grade them in 2 terms, and the grades go there accordingly. So again, the curricular goals, there are 13 curricular goals, and you can see They are all being marked here. The physical development has the first 3 curricular goals. The socio-emotional and ethical development has the next 3 curriculum goals. So children develop emotional intelligence, develop positive attitude towards productive work and seva. And children develop a positive regard for the natural environment around them. Now, the next domain, again, cognitive development, has 2 goals, that is mathematical understanding and, of course, communication. So foundational literacy and numeracy is being dealt with there. The language and literacy development also has your communication skills, fluency in reading and writing in language 1, and then your aesthetic and cultural development, your curriculum goals 12, where you let the children develop abilities and sensibilities in visual and performing arts and expressing their emotions. And last, of course, the curriculum goal 13, that is focusing on building positive learning habits, because I'm reminding you that we are looking towards a holistic development where children develop habits of learning that allow them to actively engage in formal learning environments like a school classroom. So this is the feedback by parents. We let the parents also give their feedback, where we let them tell us what child enjoys participating in, where the child needs support, what is it that they would like to tell us about the child, how the teacher, the peer assessment is being done now. So, there is a self-assessment, there is assessment by the teacher, there is assessment by the peers also here. So here, again, the teacher is helping the child. What are the activities that they enjoy? What is it that they find difficult? So, it's like almost a SWOT analysis where the child is trying, you're already putting them into that habit of understanding what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, so that what is it that they like to do, what is it that they find difficult to do, what do they like to do with their friends. And then a peer assessment is being done by the peers about that child, whether how is the child in completing tasks, whether the child likes to play with others, whether the child would share their stationery, crayons, glue, chalk with classmates. So all of this is being assessed. At this stage, the teacher can take a self-assessment, a peer assessment, and let the child assess himself or herself also. So a holistic kind of assessment is being done, and we call it a holistic progress card, HPC, or a 360-degree assessment, because I'm again reminding you, the assessment is being done by everybody. That is by the parents, by the child himself or herself, by the peer, by the teacher, and you are assessing the child on all the 13 curricular goals that we understand are part of the different 5 domains that we are dealing with, to ensure a holistic, the Panchakos Vikas we are ensuring, and in this way we are ensuring a complete development of the child. So these are some images, pictures, where we are again, how are we assessing the children, whether they are at a beginner stage, a progressive stage, or a proficient? Because again, I'm reminding you, and if you are teachers of this age, you'll understand, they all learn. So there is no child who doesn't learn ABCD or the alphabet. They learn at their own times. Yes, that happens. But each child would learn eventually. So they have their own study routines, patterns or learning routine pattern, but eventually they all learn. So they could be either beginners in learning, that is, they are trying to achieve the competency. They could be progressing, that is, they have achieved the competency, or they could be proficient, that is, they have achieved the learning outcomes on their own. So without any help or support from teachers, if the child is doing it, we would call them a proficient learner. So in this way, This holistic progress card is assessing every child holistically on all the 13 domains that we spoke about, and the assessment at this stage is being done by everybody. The complete assessment of the child is being done to understand the progress of this child through and throughout the child's school years. So we need to understand that all children are unique. They have a different pace of learning, and the NCF very beautifully encapsulates this entire understanding into the NCF foundational stage, I must say, because they have understood that every child, so a variety of learning outcomes have been put up, a variety of competencies and curricular goals to ensure that the actual aim of education, which was a holistic growth of a child who is prepared for the 21st century, and a child who is learning through various activities, because moving away from rote memorization is being done. So that's what I have to say. I don't know what is the time.
No problem, ma'am. 4:16 only.
Okay.
You're
So I
keeping up the
have.
time.
Okay,
No
sir.
issues, ma'am.
I did
Deepa,
not
ma'am.
keep the time also.
Yeah, so interesting, ma'am. So interesting,
Yes. So
actually.
I hope I was able to get across to you. And I don't know, sir, how do you want to go about it? If they have questions,
Yeah,
they're
ma'am. If
welcome to ask.
we can even open this, Deepa, ma'am. We can open for some question answer session, like for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Teachers, you can either type or ask.
Anybody can type in the message, or if you have any questions, you can ask.
All thank you messages.
I've
Questions?
also seen. See, there are no questions if they've not understood anything or they've understood everything. So I'm hoping they've understood everything.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the
no
second
one has,
option, ma'am. They
all of them
understood
have,
everything.
yeah, they understood everything.
Yeah. Ma'am,
Deepa,
I
ma'am,
hope
can
I
we?
was able to
Yeah, no, it was put in a very
justify.
simple sentence, so everybody could get it, everybody could understand. You have shown with examples. I was
Yes,
also,
ma'am, I tried to take that because, what I felt in my own school was because we didn't have anything. So when I was trying to get the curricular goals across to the teachers, they were finding it very difficult to understand. It was very confusing. So I've tried to take a lot of actual situations that how every learning outcome should be met and how the curricular goal would be.
achieved.
Yes.
This capacity
Usually the,
500.
like you have, the teachers may be doing, all these teachers may be doing many things in the classrooms, which they are connected to all these. But to put it into the documentation, to know that it is connected to the curricular domains, curricular goals, competencies,
Yes.
learning outcomes, madam has presented that into 1.5 hours. I would recommend all the teachers who are here to read the document of NCFFS. You have competencies, you have outcomes there, learning goals are there, everything is done. So only thing is your understanding, discussion, and then add up whatever knowledge you have got today and connect it to that. So that Rosemary had something to say. Rosemary had raised the hand.
Yeah. Please unmute her.
Rosemary has raised the hands.
Yeah, please unmute.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
good afternoon.
Ma'am, my question is, actually, I want to congratulate you on such a creative way of
Thank you.
creativity. So much of new ideas I got today. Really wonderful, ma'am.
Thank you.
I just want a few ideas regarding, because I'm a special educator, I just want to know what is your idea about having an inclusive classroom. How you do it in your school. Some ideas, can you share on that? Throw some light on.
Yes. So, ma'am, as I don't know if you're aware, but in Delhi, inclusion or it's mandatory. I'm sure that's how it's everywhere. So now every student, it's an inclusive school. Even our classes are inclusive. Every child has equal opportunities. So, as a teacher, when you KYS, know your student, it is important that you have individual education plans for every child. So if you're a special educator, I talk with my special educator, and we have prepared specialized individual education plans for every child. We've understood how they learn. So every special child or every child with special needs, where is it that the teacher needs to put in more work, or how would the child need? Maybe the child needs special support at times. Maybe the child doesn't understand the way the children are studying. A specialized education plan is prepared, and we try to ensure that maybe they are not able to achieve all the learning outcomes. It cannot happen. It will not happen at all times. So we have to be very patient. One, we have to understand that they will learn at their own pace at different times. So patience, individual education plans, and trying to achieve smaller goals for them, smaller learning outcomes. We cannot uh, let them be in comparison with us normal. I won't say normal student, they're also normal, but with other students. So every child learns at their own pace.
Ma'am, may I interrupt?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
just
yes.
just to make some clarity. Ma'am, regarding can we when we make some special papers for them in the law classes, it's all right. But when it comes to 8th standard, that is not possible. When they go to the 9th and all that, so it's going to be more formal. So
Yeah.
at that time, what can be done? They might not be doing the grade level assessments usually. So suddenly going to the higher grade. So what is CBSE will be doing regarding all
So
that?
what we are doing is, like, I have a children, and I have many children like this. Just today, I have given a child. The child is has dyscalculia. The child is dyslexic. So child is unable to do science, math, and social science.
Okay.
So there is a change. There is now CBSE has become very flexible. A variety of other subject options can be given to such children. So the child is good in languages, we retain the languages. Child is not able to do mathematics, we take up another logical like computer science or IT, where the child could fare better. So child is creative, can draw. So the child has been given painting. So any other subject, there are a variety of vocational subjects that are now being offered. And when these children have their the doctor's diagnosis sheets with and I'm sure you must be doing a diagnosis for all these children.
Yeah,
you
that's
can suggest you can suggest a scribe at times, question to be broken up into smaller parts. At times you can also say if the question needs to be read out, and at times I know my special educator has also told teachers that you have to explain this question to the child, a hot type question in easier words. So we are doing all of that because, see, our purpose is not to give them stress. Our purpose is more to ensure that they are able to cope up and feel less stress about coming to school. So this is what all we are doing in our school.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Viva ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, can we?
Can everybody has now? Anyone has a question? I think no one
Not
has.
much. All acknowledgement, thanking messages, one after another. I think we should prepare a note, a long book for that. Lot of messages, ma'am. I think the
Thank you.
capacity of Zoom is 500. I don't know exactly how many are there in the Zoom live. I mean that YouTube
Now
live.
there are 478, sir.
Yeah.
It was 500
Yeah.
already.
It was
500 was there.
500. I saw.
500 is the
I saw.
maximum in this
Yeah.
now.
You have done
YouTube
it in
also.
YouTube's recent?
Yeah. Live is going on, ma'am. Live is going on.
Okay. So can we
Yeah. I
okay,
think the
all
time
of
also,
you,
ma'am. Yeah.
you are sharing any slides now? It's recent?
What is that, sir? Can you attendance link us? Yeah.
Yes. Now,
Yeah, thank you.
all of you are,
Okay.
Srisen, can I?
Yeah, please proceed, ma'am. Please proceed.
Thank you everyone. Before I thanks to everyone who are watching here, we have this program was supported to us by Veda Handwriting Lab. It is a very wonderful scientifically developed program, which I think has I'm sure that whichever school has undergone the training program, the teachers who have undergone the training program had resorted to do it, and when they practice it, there is a big improvement in the handwriting, and handwriting has become a very important aspect also. So and Srisen has put his lot of effort and work to develop this handwriting because it is scientifically developed one. So any of the schools or any of the school teachers and any of the management would like to take it forward with their schools, it is you can contact it for the teachers. First, you go try with the teachers, and then if it works out, I'm sure it will work out. So if it works out, it will be beneficial for all of you. So thank you, Srisen, for we have been, many of our schools are following this way, the handwriting lab. And it was beneficial, and it has been a very big thing for as far as the children are concerned. Many of the parents are also appreciating this. So even the parent seminars and conduction of orientation for teachers, you can approach the ceirglobal.com, this number. And thank you, Srisen, for making this
Thank you,
platform
ma'am. Thank you,
available
ma'am.
for the KG session. And Pallavi madam for a very simple and attractive and also a
Exactly.
wonderful presentation. You have put everything into a simple words, and you have made everybody understand that what this actually NCFFS is. And as you said, when we put before the teachers, there are curricular goals, competencies, what you call it as
Learning outcomes,
domains,
domains.
curricular goals, competencies, learning outcomes. So when these words come in, people find it, oh, how much to read and how much to, and we are not able to get it. So how this is to be connected, you have put it today. So it will be beneficial because in most of the Kerala schools are going to start only by June 1st. So June 3rd. So naturally, there is time for them to plan, sit with across with their
Exactly.
departments and the principals. And that is why I told as early as possible so that it can help. And they had a teaching methodology program also by the Kochi Metro Sahodaya at Vishwajyoti last week, an offline program, which was not with NCF, but this time I wanted it to be NCF to be decoded for them. So thank you, madam. Thank you so much. And to quote, NCRF says that 800 hours of teaching learning process, but there you have excursions, field visits, everything can be taken as a part of development in the kindergarten stages and what you call it as FS. So 3 to 8, as madam said, teachers, it is in your hand to bring out the best in the child in these foundational stage. And that actually, when the foundation is strong, everything is strong. More important to foundation is what I feel when I look at the angle of a principal or a teacher when we compare the 12th. 12th will be good, 10th will be good if the foundation is good. So thank you, Pallavi madam, for taking out your time from this heavy schedule and being with the Kochi Metro Sahodaya. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
See you. Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye. All
Bye-bye.
the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.